very good afternoon to all our viewers watching us here on Nile TV International. The leaders and royalty gathered in London today to mourn Queen Elizabeth amid scenes of matchless pageantry, fitting end for Britain's longest-serving monarch, who won respect of the world over the 70 years of her reign. And King Charles and other senior British royals followed her flag-draped coffin into Westminster Abbey on Monday at the start of her state funeral, the country's first since 1965, when Winston Churchill was afforded the honor. We can see now live tens of thousands of people lining up the streets as the Queen's casket is making its way. The short journey from Westminster Hall, where she had been lying in state, pulled along on a gun carriage by 142 sailors with arms linked. We can see the funeral right now, but in order to know more about this important historical event, we're very much honored to have with us here in the studio His Excellency Ambassador Ayman Musharrafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister for Protocol and Ceremony. A great honor having you with us, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for being
here. The honor is mine.
Ambassador Musharrafa, we are witnessing now a historical event, the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, who ruled Britain for over 70 years now. Tell us more about the Queen and what we are seeing now, the funeral.
Actually, the ceremony and the funeral is an exceptional one of the biggest in the history of Britain for an exceptional Queen. I mean, in England for the last 70 years, they never witnessed a funeral like that, except two. It was for Winston Churchill, Sir Winston Churchill, the legendary Prime Minister of England in 1965, and Lady Diana. The Queen was an exceptional figure itself. It was not only a monarch, a constitutional monarch, but it came as the ruler of the UK after the Second World War. And England itself was facing deep economic crisis. But she was a traditionalist itself, and she always ruled in a constitutional monarchy with more than 13 prime ministers, like Winston Churchill, like Margaret Thatcher. And she had a great relation with the prime ministers and with parliament. And she really, everybody described her as a lady devoted to service, a lady devoted to the crown itself, a lady devoted to the best interest of the British people and the Commonwealth. You know, the Commonwealth nearly was founded in her time.
Yes.
And she presided over several Commonwealth summits. And even in some of the summits, she made decisions, but she encouraged the decision against South Africa. Nevertheless, it was a part of against apartheid. The lady was an exceptional one, so she deserved really a royal, distinguished funeral after a 70 years rule. And I think lining up of the British people for nearly 3 days when she was laying in state in the Westminster Hall shows that even the ordinary British appreciate the role of the Queen in preserving this unity of this country. She was a symbol of unity, a symbol of reconciliation, a symbol of tolerance for a lot of Brits and through the Commonwealth too.
Your Excellency, from your title, the former Assistant Foreign Minister for Protocol and Ceremonies, perhaps protocols and ceremonies are the main pillar of the British royal traditions. So from that perspective, how do you see all the British traditions manifested in the funeral of Queen Elizabeth?
Really, I think that the procession of the funeral didn't change. I mean, from George III to George VI to Queen Elizabeth, the British monarchy had a tradition of keeping strict protocol, rule. They never change. They are even in the simple details. the relation with uniforms,
Yes.
the procession itself, how even they coronate the king after. The queen was declared dead 10 years, 10 days earlier. And after that, it took 10 days to make this procession and this traditional festivity. It was really something very detailed and very organized to the smallest details.
Yes.
And that's the excellence of the British Crown itself. They are keeping the tradition, and even sometimes this tradition is attracting the people. The people are fascinated by the tradition of the monarchy, the British monarchy, which didn't change. A lot of monarchy in Europe and in the Middle East, but they do not have this strict tradition.
Like the
Some
British.
monarchy have adjusted to the new world. They are trying to make monarchy simpler a little bit, but still the British tradition has their strict rule, their strict modality in everything.
Yes. I would like to take it from here, Your Excellency, because utilizing the fascination of the public with such strict traditions actually drew thousands of spectators and people from around the world to witness the funeral, as we can see, of course, in addition to billions of people around the world. So if we're talking about the people who went to Britain, especially from around the world, to witness this historical event, how did this reflect on tourism? How did the British government actually utilize the event in drawing many people to come to visit the country?
You know, actually, some Brits were questioning the monarchy. They're saying that the monarchy is costing the British treasury too much money. But they have proven all over the years that the monarchy is attracting a lot of tourism. In several events, in the Jubilee, how much money they got. And in
Royal weddings.
I mean, even in the Diana Spencer funeral, they
Yes.
attracted a lot of spectators, a lot of people. They have, I mean, the genius to make such event a magnet to attract tourism. And I think even the funeral itself will attract a lot of tourism. And even after that, it's not only tourism, it's a gift.
Yes.
It is the stamps, the memorial, all the memorial things which would be printed and manufactured in the name of the late Queen Elizabeth. It would help millions and millions. And after that, her legacy in museum, in palaces. A lot of people still, they want to visit this place to see where this great queen have lived. So they are capitalizing very well
Yes.
on such mega events.
Of course. Now, according to the schedule of the funeral, to remind our audience, 12 p.m. GMT, the service closed with the national anthem, God Save the King, and Element, a musical expression of grief. 12:15 p.m. GMT, the coffin drew on the gun carriage, as we have seen, towards Wellington Arch at Hyde Park Corner near Buckingham Palace, and it was followed by the King's senior royals and a procession including detachments from the armed forces of the Commonwealth grouping of 56 nations that the Queen headed. And the Big Ben bell of the UK Parliament and gun salutes fire at 1 minute intervals throughout. 1 p.m., which is almost about now, this is 1 p.m. GMT. The coffin, as we can see, arrives at Wellington Arch, moved to the royal hearse and sets off for Windsor Castle west of London. Now we are witnessing a historical event, the funeral procession of Queen Elizabeth II, and I'm here in the studio with our distinguished guest, Ambassador Ayman Musharraf, former Assistant Foreign Minister for Protocol and Ceremonies. Now, Your Excellency, let's talk more about the Egyptian-British relations, historical relations between
Before
the two
closing,
countries.
before closing on your remarks, I want to say that this procession is a revival of the British Empire, the glory of the British Empire, the choice of the place where the coffin have circled. I mean, it
Do you
was
think this is a
ingenious.
message to the whole world at this particular time?
It's a recall of history, the greatness of history, and how Britain was one upon a time the empire which the sun never sets on it. I mean, I think even the uniforms, the beauty of the uniforms, and most of the uniform have given recalling the past. I think it is a piece of history marching on the ground.
Yes, but the meticulous details, Your
Yes.
Excellency, the meticulous details of everything we have seen during the past 10 days, and of course today, the culmination of the event with the funeral. Do you think that Britain is sending a message to the world? We are still one of the greatest nations in the world. We are keeping our traditions no matter what, especially after all the ups and downs that took place following its Brexit.
Yes. I was going to say it. They are giving a piece of politics. After the
There is a
Brexit,
piece of
they say
politics.
still we are distinguishing British. And even on some uniforms, you see that the battle, the great battle that the British Army, I mean, victories, the great victories, was written on the uniform on some officers. So they're still glorifying their past. And sometimes those victories, I mean, were in history not very well remembered.
Yes.
But still, they are recalling the greatness of the empire. They want to be distinguished British since they left the big European Union.
Okay, now back again to the historical relations binding binding Egypt and Britain. How do you see such relations?
This relation was an old, ancient relation since 1982, and it continued throughout history. Egypt was independent in 1936 after the treaty, they call it the Honor Treaty between Egypt and Britain, and the last British soldier left after 1956 politically. And unfortunately, the Queen herself never paid Egypt a visit. She visited around 14 Arab countries, but never Egypt for a reason we don't know. But we had most of our presidents had very close relation with the UK. The only state visit was done by President Mubarak in 1983, but President Mubarak, President Sadat, President Sisi have visited frequently the UK in business trip, because actually in protocol you have a state visit which you go and stay in one of the royal palaces. You are giving a royal banquet. Business visits, usually sometimes you go, but you do not meet the Queen. You meet the Prime Minister, the main figures in the House of Commons, in the House of Lords, the business community, and most of the relation with Britain, we had a very, very good commercial relation, touristic relation, cultural relation.
Of course.
If we never forget that Tutankhamun was discovered by Howard Carter. Howard Carter was a Brit. And who financed it is Lord Carnarvon. Nevertheless, l'archaeology, it was actually, most of it was, the French had a big input in it, because Champollion have deciphered the code of the hieroglyphic, and after that Maspero, Leclan, most of them were French. But the greatest bank in the Egyptian discoveries were Tutankhamun.
Yes.
Nevertheless, he was the youngest king, and he never ruled for a long time, but was a big bank.
Of course.
And the British Museum itself, if you go visit it, the biggest section of Egyptology is in the British Museum. I'm not questioning how those came out of Egypt, but at the end of the day,
They're there.
Yes, they are there. And they are in a way or another helping to show the Brits and to show the world the glory of Egypt.
The greatness of Egypt.
Cultural business relation, I mean, we have a British Egyptian Council which is working very good. Egypt and England is among the biggest partner, trade partner with the UK. I don't have the exact number. In the field of tourism, before the COVID, the Brits were, I mean, the biggest comer to Sharm el-Sheikh, to Hurghada, and the cultural tourism, even in Luxor and Aswan. We have a lot of British tourists coming. And the British market was very luxurious to us. I mean, and I think the Brits are coming again. You have, after COVID, the British tourism is picking up again, and I hope because the British tourist is a tourist well appreciated in Egypt.
Yes, now just to remind our audience, we have just seen the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II. It has just arrived at Wellington Ark and moved to the royal hearse and set off for Windsor Castle west of London. And we are still live with you in this special coverage of the event. Now, back again to you, Your Excellency. How do you see the cultural relations between Egypt and Britain in light of all the changes that took place around the world?
I want to add something. Wellington Ark itself, it reminds the glory and the victory of the Brits, because Wellington is one of the most decorated, brilliant army general in the history of Great Britain. So I mean, choosing those places, made it brilliant.
Yes, so there is actually significance in choosing all these places.
Wellington, I mean, he defeated Napoleon, and it was a big clash between the new idea of La Révolution Française and the traditionalist monarchy in Europe.
Yes.
And after that, at the end of the day, the traditional monarchy won the big battle, and Napoleon was defeated, but still Napoleon is Napoleon in history.
Of course. So now we have just seen that the coffin arrived at Wellington Ark and then moved to the royal hearse to set off for Windsor Castle west of London. We can see now live with you, this is the Wellington Ark, as His Excellency Ambassador Ayman Musharrafa is telling us more about this important place.
About the cultural relation. Lately, I mean, there is a fellowship called Newton Musharrafa. Musharrafa was one of the prominent Egyptian and Arab scientists in nuclear physics.
Of course.
And he was the first dean of the Faculty of Science in Cairo University. So this fellowship will help a lot of students to go and study in the UK, and the Chevening too. And you have a lot of a tradition for Egyptians to go to study in the UK. And I think a lot of, there were few at a point of time, but right now I say thousands.
Yes.
They are working in Egypt and contributing in the cultural relation and the scientific relation between both countries.
Yes. Your Excellency, as we can watch now, we are seeing the sons and daughters of Queen Elizabeth standing in respect, to pay respect for their mother. Of course, the rest of the commons or the people are standing to watch this very important event, and they are now stopping at Wellington Ark, one of the most important historical places or landmarks in Britain. And to move on, we were just talking about the traditions, Your Excellency, and we have seen Prince Harry stripped of his military uniform, while his brother William was wearing the military uniform. I want to explain that to
I think it's related. It's related because he moved out of his royal duty. Nevertheless, he served in the British Army for a period of time, like all the royals. By the way, Queen Elizabeth herself served in the British Army at the end of the Second World War. Served for a period of time. Most of the royal family have served in the army to be a part of the British people and to show appreciation to the British military establishment. So that's why Harry, I think, doesn't have the doesn't wear the uniform.
Yes. We can also see the Queen's coffin with her crown on
Yes.
top of it. Another tradition, and we can see her eldest son, King Charles III, stepping forward to stand and pay respect in that particular place.
You know, the Queen itself is the commander-in-chief of the army, nominally.
Yeah.
She had the right to declare war, but he never did it. You know, for a reason, some people, they think that Britain has a constitution. Britain doesn't have a written constitution. But they are relying always on tradition and customs, customary law. So always declaring war, it is the jurisdiction of the Prime Minister.
Yes. Your comment on the scene that we are watching now,
Yes.
Your Excellency. We are watching now the Queen's coffin standing before the Wellington Arch, and everyone is standing in respect. We can see the royal family and, of course, the soldiers in their famous red traditional uniform.
Yes. You know, I'm wondering, those big hats, how they're standing, the weight of the big hats, but it is beautiful. This big hat, it's always a symbol of the British monarchy. It's
Yes.
becoming a symbol of the British monarchy and the British army itself.
Yes.
So I mean, even the uniform itself, it was brilliant and always shiny. It was showing always the might of the British Empire.
Excellent. We can also see the grandchildren standing in respect for the Queen and the famous march of the soldiers in the red uniform. We can see that now live. We are live with you, ladies and gentlemen, and still with you in our special coverage of the funeral procession of Queen Elizabeth with our distinguished guest, Ambassador Ayman Musharrafa, the former Assistant Foreign Minister for Protocol and Ceremonies. I would like also to ask you, Your Excellency, about the most important characteristics of Egyptian-British cordial relations.
Well, the relation always, during a certain period of time, it was not very cordial. During the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. But the relation in the 70s and in the 80s and the 90s up till now have emphasized on on the area of cooperation, economically, culturally, politically. Any country has a certain difference. We could not agree on 100% of all the files.
Yes.
But still we are looking always on the positive side
Yes.
between Egypt and the UK.
Yes.
Lately, for instance, the COP26 was held in Glasgow.
Yes.
And we are working very closely with the British government for the COP27, which is going to be in Sharm el-Sheikh. A close cooperation with the government, with the British government, since we are doing the continuation of the job. I mean, it's an important part of the cooperation.
Yes. We can see now, ladies and gentlemen, that the Queen's coffin has been moved now. We can watch this live. It has been moved to the royal hearse, setting off for Windsor, and this is again part of the ceremony we are watching live now with you. We can see the official military march taking place in front of the Wellington Arch, and it is setting off to Windsor Castle, west of London. After that, 3 p.m. GMT, the hearse will arrive at Windsor and make its way to the castle via the sweeping Long Walk Avenue to the castle. We are witnessing a very important historical event now, and we can see it. We're watching it live with you. Now, back again to you, Your Excellency. The attention that this event is getting from around the world. We know that millions of spectators are watching this event live now. Now we can watch the coffin being carried
Out of the gun carriage, yes.
out of the gun carriage, and it is getting into the royal car, which will take it to Windsor.
The final destination,
The
I
final
think.
destination.
Yes.
Exactly. Again, we can see to the left of the car, the soldiers with their distinguished uniform, and I would like you to comment more on what we are seeing now. This is the coffin.
You know, the
moving.
attention, you asked me a question about why the world is having an attention for the funeral.
Yes.
Actually, more than 56 head of state, very prominent, like the President of the United States, even the seclusive Emperor of Japan, the Prime Minister of Canada, even some kings, like King Hussein, high official delegation from Egypt. I heard that we were represented by the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli in the procession. I don't know if it's,
Yes. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi
Yes.
delegated the Prime Minister to attend the
funeral, yes.
funeral, and the Foreign Minister actually arrived in London
Yes.
yesterday. Yes.
So actually it shows, I mean, the importance of the Queen and the importance of the Egyptian-British relation. And President Sisi, of course, sent the Prime Minister to pay his respect to the great Queen.
You can see now
yes.
King Charles and his wife Camilla standing to witness as the coffin of the Queen just got into the car. Everyone's standing now, and the procession is taking place with very meticulous details. Now the car is expected to move to Windsor Palace, its final destination. By the end of the day, the Queen will be buried next to her husband, Prince
And
Philip.
even, I want to make a comment, how they're glorifying the British industry. Most of the cars are Rolls-Royce or Jaguar or Aston Martin. I mean, they didn't use a Mercedes or any other manufactured car. I mean, the procession itself, it was 100% British, 100% traditional British.
I'm glad that you're drawing our attention to all these details, Your
Yes.
Excellency. But we are witnessing an extraordinary scene here where the coffin just got into the car before Wellington Ark, and it is getting ready to move to Windsor. The fact that the Queen herself managed and supervised the details of her own funeral. She actually requested all the details of her funeral.
I think so. I think so. She did this. She was a very wise lady. She knew that one upon a time things are
The
going
king is
to
saluting his mother now.
Yes. Things are going to come to an end because she was a human being. So she wanted the things to do traditionally as she lived by tradition.
Yes.
She never veered, of course. And even the series of the Crown, if you watch it, the first part and the second part, you depict really how this lady and this sovereign was very traditional in her life, even in the smallest details of her life. How she saluted the prime ministers, how she was meeting the prime ministers, and how she was entertaining himself, and how she was directing the royal family sometimes if they veered, of course, or she judged that they did something which doesn't go with a strict royal tradition. But herself was, I mean, a very traditional person, and a person who was bound by the respect of her ancestor and the welfare of the crown and the nation.
Yes, we can see now the convoy of the Queen, if you are all watching with us. Now, the motorcycles riding before the glass automobile of the Queen, carrying the coffin of the Queen. It is making its way now to Windsor Palace, and we can see the people lining up in the street to pay their respects and bid the Queen farewell. Now, this is the final destination of the Queen. Everyone has been keen to witness that moment, to go and witness the convoy of the Queen making its way all the way from Wellington Ark to Windsor, where the Queen will be buried next to her late husband, Prince Philip. We are seeing now the parade, the motorcycles in the beginning, and the glass automobile, in order to allow the people to see, as we can see clearly, the coffin inside of it with the crown on top of the coffin. Now, I'd like to thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Ayman Musharrafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister for Protocol and Ceremonies. We are witnessing
Thanks very much
protocol and ceremonies
for giving me this opportunity to contribute this and to see and to watch this historical event in the history of England.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in our special coverage. Stay tuned for more here on Nile TV International. I'm Hamalawi signing off for now.